We're a nation whose founding document between its Indigenous people and the Crown is known as the Treaty of Waitangi.
New Zealand is far from perfect, but having signed a treaty in 1840 and established the Waitangi Tribunal, essentially a Maori rights commission, they're about 180 years ahead of us.
These documents, connections and history to continue to shape us as a nation.
The Uluru Statement from the Heart, signed 5 years ago, was meant to set us on a path to enshrining the sovereignty of our First Nations people in the Constitution, along with an Indigenous voice to Parliament. The statement also calling for a Makarrata Commission to conduct a truth-telling process, with treaty the ultimate goal.
If you reflect on the 30-odd years of the reconciliation movement, it's really Uluru that has anchored it to what justice and repair might look like, and that's where voice, treaty and truth come into play.
But successive coalition governments have derailed the process.
It's not our policy to have a referendum on the voice, so why would I be doing that?
Several states and territories have forged ahead. Queensland, the Northern Territory, South Australia and Tasmania have begun the groundwork to establish treaties. Victoria has already launched an Australia First Truth-Telling Commission to heal past injustices.
Victoria's had enormous success. You look at the momentum we have right now. As early as next year, we'll see for the first time in this country's history treaty making in Victoria.
And now the new federal government has put the process front and centre.
On behalf of the Australian Labor Party, I commit to the Uluru Statement from the Heart in full.
When the time is right.
I think it's putting the cart before the horse to name a date and then work backwards from that.
I think we're moving at an appropriate pace. Treaties are really, really complex, and when you talk to people in Canada and the US and New Zealand, you know, not everybody is happy with the way in which those treaties have been interpreted.
Government have the challenge of meeting the moment. Talk's cheap when we're talking treaty. They need to deliver a peace agreement that improves the lives of Aboriginal people in this country.
So, after 234 years, do we finally have a clear roadmap to treaty?
It feels hopeful, doesn't it? Like, we've had this conversation so many times, but I guess Albo coming out front up and saying we're going to commit to it. I mean, maybe it was just a bit of smoke and mirrors as the new Prime Minister and putting the flags in, but I don't know, it feels, as an Indigenous person, it feels like we might be finally about to get across the finish line and have some decent human rights for Indigenous people in this country.
Do you see that there's a sort of uniform view amongst different Indigenous communities about this and the process and how we even get there?
I think it's just like a federal election, right? You're never going to please everyone. Not everyone's going to agree on what's the best thing. And is the Uluru Statement from the Heart the best solution? Will it be implemented in the best way? I think we're still yet to see what that might look like in government or after a referendum. But I feel kind of hopeful. I mean, 5 years ago, we wouldn't have been having this conversation on a national news program. You know, people wouldn't have been sharing about it on social media to the lengths that they are. So I don't know, I feel a bit hopeful.
Good to hear.
For change, yeah.